Vehicles ply this way only during the dry season, but during the rains, it's time for this. This community is called Nemo Wasulung under the administration of Brikama Area Council. What is usually considered a blessing, rain becomes a nightmare for the inhabitants of this community.
This is not the only place. If you go around, you find many places away from this area.
As you can see, seeing is believing. You understand? So it's all about this. We have been experiencing this for the past 4 years. Every year when the rain comes, it's always devastating. You have compounds behind it that have been, seriously, severely flooded. But because of due to accessibility, we cannot have access to that area.
Where we are now, presently, we don't know what to do. Our ladies, our mothers, some of our own mothers, they don't even cross this place because they are afraid to join this boat in order to cross. Because sometimes they say when they climb on top of it, maybe it might sink down and they will fall down.
Anytime the heavens open up, the residents here say their roads, their compounds, and their houses are always inundated with flood water, like what you're seeing. This is the worst terror flood that I've ever seen in the whole of my life. And people around here say they're grappling with this kind of situation for over 7 years. Getting soaked all over your body is just the simplest form of inconveniences they're experiencing. In their houses, they have to spend the whole night being awake, evacuating their materials from the house. And then communication is also a problem for them, like you've seen. They're using improvised boats to transport, particularly women who are going to the market day in, day out. And then that is also costing the women something, because they would have to pay $5 anytime they cross over. Movements are impeded and become so risky and arduous as in the use of this improvised raft, where people, particularly women going and coming from the market, would have to make do with paying $5 to the captains of this boat. The inconvenience and distress the inhabitants of this area are putting up with are visible on their countenances as we try to get into their inhabitable and vacated rooms. All those who spoke to us resonated one single request. They wanted their only access road rehabilitated, as they say is the principal cause of all their annual rainy season nightmares.
Because they will see this thing, we want them to help us. Let them try to make a road, even one road that can make people to be crossing every now and then. And if we have the road whereby everybody can cross safely and then pass, we'll be very happy. Because sometimes some of the small things even down here.
Signs for floods receding for people here to breathe a sigh of relief is next to far-fetched, as rains show no sign of abating even as we prepare to take off to other affected areas. Neighborhoods around this bridge dividing Bundung and Sabijinema are also having their full share of the floods. Main and minor streets are full to knee-deep. Compounds and bedrooms are not spared. Inhabitants here too share the same ordeal of sleepless nights as those in Wasulung. For them, a nightfall which usually brings along it calm and rest becomes a dreadful moment. And when at last the people here would see rest and dry becomes anyone's guess, as water levels for now show no signs of receding. For GRTS News, I am Mohammed Jamal Sise.
And untold damages to both public and private infrastructure in large parts of the country. Initial assessments conducted around the Greater Banjul area by a team of disaster coordinators under the leadership of Her Excellency the Vice President found that many houses have been flooded, properties damaged or lost, leading to the large displacement of people from their residence. In view of this, the government of the Gambia has declared a state of disaster in the country and appeals for assistance from all and sundry, both within and outside the country. All those individuals, groups and institutions that wish to contribute to the relief efforts, either in cash or kind, are kindly urged to channel all such assistance to the Office of the Vice President, State House, Banjul. In response to this serious disaster situation, the Gambia government has contributed $10 million to support the emergency relief efforts in progress. Meanwhile, the Gambia
This rain here in Brikama means that a lot of families are now wondering where they will sleep when night falls, and the situation is further aggravated by the fact that some families are now thinking of not only what to eat, but a place they would at least call home, and the NDMA is just trying to help them to fix their problems, at least for today. This is Jamar Sane in the Brikama administrative area. Unable to live in their compounds, the residents of this flood-prone settlement are packing their belongings heading to anywhere where they can live temporarily until such a time the water disappears. The Fofana and Fati Kunda families have one thing in common. Their compounds have been flooded to an extent that some members of their families are waiting in calm anticipation for relocation. 2 days of heavy downpour has caused a great discomfort for the Fofana family.
It started from the fence over there, our neighbor's fence, that's Fati Kunda. When that one collapses, ours also collapses. And this is why all the houses were flooded, including this other house also was away and the kitchen here. But nonetheless, I think we must thank God.
But their next door neighbor, Kadiri Fati, also had his own fair share of the floods.
Just like what we call fire, a good master for a bad servant as well. But it has come at a time at a bad time, one would say, because you can see what the damage it causes.
This canal, located along the Brikama-Mandinaba highway, is swallowing all the water coming out of the neighborhood. However, it couldn't prevent the flood water from entering Sane Kunda.
From yesterday, late in the evening up till now, we've been suffering. Even to breakfast was a problem. Some of us were inside the house trying to battle with the water. So it was not easy.
There was a renewed sense of hope. At least something good has come when the governor of the Western region, accompanied by the regional national disaster management coordinator, distributed something the flood victims needed urgently. A bag of rice, a mat, mosquito nets and other essential food items were given to some of the families who were made homeless by the floods.
As we speak, we've received complaints of 259 compounds that are said to be affected. This represents, of course, a figure of 2,210 people. Of course, we need to continue to domesticate it into households, but this would be further done by the assessment, which I hope to receive latest tomorrow morning, and would be in a better position to tell you the households. But per compounds, it is 259 compounds affected, representing 2,210 persons.
In other areas, the residents were preoccupied with carrying their belongings than talking to a curious TV crew who wanted to know how these people are going to cope with the situation. On the whole, Mother Nature did not spare the road leading to the Gunjur fish landing site. Well, for a sprawling fishing settlement such as Gunjur, when 1 or 2 boats are destroyed, it becomes a problem. Instead, we are talking about 8 boats that have been destroyed by a windstorm, according to what we gathered from the local people on the ground. And now the vexed question on many people's lips is, how are they going to get the funds to rebuild their lives? Ibrahima Balde, reporting from the Gunjur fish landing site.
It's not strange for people to experience flood after torrential rainfall, but it is strange to see the Vice President walking knee-deep in murky waters in the affected areas. This was a sight to behold as victims were stunned by the concern shown by the Vice President and entourage. Taking her time talking and sympathizing with the victims of the flood, Vice President Jai Sedi told GRTS that President Jammeh's government believe in leadership by example.
That's what President Jammeh does. So you see, leadership by example. If President Jammeh sat in the office and didn't go around, you've seen him going around Ibo Town and other places. So if you have to follow his footsteps, you have to also go to the grassroots. That is what is expected of all of us as public servants. We are here to serve the people. Like the President said, we are not masters of the people, but servants of the people. And indeed, that's what we are exhibiting here, just to follow the example of His Excellency the President. We have to go out there to see for ourselves. As a policymaker, you cannot plan better unless you see for yourself. You cannot depend on just information from somebody else, a third party. You should be there yourself and see things for yourself. Then you can understand the situation better. You can relate to the situation better and you can plan better.
Traveling from one area to another in these deep waters, with some cars stuck at one point or another, Dr. Aissatou Njie Seydi was not deterred from accomplishing her mission, which is to see the damage firsthand for herself. Officials from the United Nations say they are impressed with government's quick response to the disaster.
Well, I think it's been a very impressive exercise. I think, first of all, we have to say that the arrangements in place for addressing disasters in the Gambia have been shown today to be working. You have a very senior group of ministers together with other officials and led by the Vice President who are responding to a flood that only happened yesterday and out looking at the problem in the countryside, touring the countryside the whole day and talking to the people that have been affected. I think that's a very extremely impressive response.
Some officials also had different opinions on the flood, which they say was not surprising.
But unfortunately, for our sector, we have foreseen this, and we have on several occasions been warning people that this year the rains are going to be heavy, maybe shorter raining periods, but very heavy and torrential. So in that case, it is, for me personally, it has not been a surprise, though I didn't expect such a scale.
This is not a phenomenon which has just come as a surprise. It was foreseeable, because for many, many years scientists have been talking about carbon emission, global changes, and the consequences that would come.
For the mayor of the Kanifing Municipal Council, donors are urgently needed to help these displaced families.
I would equally appeal to donors, to whoever believes he can help. Let them come out and help these needy ones. They are right now in need, and I believe they can. People can help them. Let us all join hands and help. The municipality alone cannot do it. The government cannot do it alone. And at the same, individuals must come up. People must come up to help.
Over 1,000 families are already affected by the floods in the Kanifing municipality alone, and this officials say was just a rapid survey. The main worry is now the number of families facing similar situations across the country.
Taking this place into consideration, this has its own story to tell as we look inside these waters that flow inside people's houses in these communities. The Vice President, despite her office and position, took time to walk into these communities and murky waters to sympathize with the victims of this flood. Officials say this goes a long way to show people how committed President Jammeh's government is to the welfare of Gambians. For GRTS News, I am Asitumane.